Thank you for tuning. YNet 7. Man, you know, while y'all playing, you know what I mean? Or while they playing, guys, ladies and gentlemen, you know, they making moves. All right. And it's gonna, trust no citizen at this point. Because if they not speaking up against this, trying to get the community together near and far, then obviously they are working with the opposition, the oppressors. And they are tools and instruments of oppression. And that's how it should be viewed. Now they're coming after your communication. So what we've been looking at here, YNet 7, we've been talking about, we covered social credit score system coming out, the new digital rollout. We know it's been in place behind the scenes, quiet as kept for a long time now. They made the announcement, it's coming. FedNow dropped in the summer, so now they have all your transactions. Electronic funds transfer wise. We just spoke about the new budget in North Carolina creating a secret police whose jurisdiction is now public funds and state funds, and we covered that video. Go check that out in case you think, oh, I'm not on public funds. Well, if you file your taxes and you claim anything more than a zero, you got to look at it like that's public funds. So you probably are getting state funds. You claim head of household. I'm not a tax advisor. This is not advice, but for entertainment purposes only. Go watch the video. You file head of household. You claim independence. You're getting state funds, whether you thought you were or not. You're just like you're on food stamps. Okay? So now we can get that out of the air. Now we just covered how North Carolina dropped from 13th to 24th on the overall freedom rankings for the 50 states of the United States jurisdiction. And personal freedom in particular went from 13 to 33rd. So almost the bottom of the barrel here in North Carolina on personal freedoms. And we covered basically why that, or not to say the only reason why, because we speak in terms of infinity because we like to be truthful. But we covered a good portion of what was driving that. And now on the national level and international level, we have the FISA Reform and Reauthorization Act of 2023, which how many people were aware of this was going on while they were, arguing with the chick, could they come over, or busting it up with the guys about who had the best touchdown run last week. You know what I mean? While you guys is playing around, meanwhile they're locking. We got to do something about this. And the people that are so distracted of everything else, they're part of the problem. So that's just what it is. Let's look at this. They're coming after your communications next, right? And what is communication? All right. If we go to, let's go here first, because I think this is a really, really important way to display it. It's just the basic etymology of it. So communication is an imparting or transmitting of something. It doesn't say what the something is, right? To make common, to many, share, impart, right? Transmitting of something. And for those who know, when you look at things like your right to travel for entertainment purposes, it kind of made me wonder if the right to travel is a right just as based on the freedom of communication, because, or vice versa, because when you look at yourself, you're basically living, breathing, walking, moving data, right? And why is that key? That's key because if we go here and look at the Black's Law Dictionary for it, communication is simply information. So you're just a bunch of DNA, which makes you living, breathing information. Now, what are you composed of? What is your information? You got your basic human information. You got your basic mankind information. You got your everything else that you absorb from your environment, information embedded into you as well. So if we all start off 98% similar, the other 2% is going to be if you're filling yourself with full of bullshit. Like I said, do you know a bunch of sports scores from last week, but didn't know that they raid your whole household and family and business forever digitally? You didn't know that, but you know the sports scores. Something's wrong with you. Worried about the wrong things. I mean, this is why the women feel the way they do about men. But then this is why the good men can't, don't really work well. Well, I ain't gonna say good men, but men that are focused on what needs to be done don't really work well with society, because the women are programming the men to, go watch the game, go relax. And then when this type of information comes up, they don't know shit about it. So how can you protect your family if you don't know how you're being infringed upon? You can say what you want about Pasha. Pasha's on here right now trying to protect you and your family because you spent the last 10 years watching football. So let's get into what I'm talking about here, right? So communication is information. And what are they trying to do here? What is this new thing? Well, let's look at the article. Let me get that on the screen for you here. And the article is titled "Eyes Everywhere. Congress is about to vote to expand mass surveillance of Americans, expert warns." And I know the first thing you're going to say is, oh, we've heard this before. Yeah, no, not like this. You haven't. And I'm going to take you through a little bit of how we got here and the difference in what it was and where it's going to go. You're going to be very, very surprised, some of you. The U.S. citizens, they're going, for those, that we represent America. We're Americans here at Y97. We have American mentalities. But the U.S. citizen mentality, they're going to embrace this. They're going to say, oh, it's so good for us. We love being captive and monitored and restricted, and our rights are infringed upon. This is going to be amazing. It's going to be such a great vacation. Big government is going to tell us when we can say something, when we can't say something. They're going to know what we said and did anyway. And like I said, go back to this order here. We had social. Hold on. Let me do it like this real quick. Let me give it to you. I'm trying to give you a much a better experience, right? So let me give you this, right? Because let me do it like this. All right. So what we were talking about earlier is we started off with social credit score on the channel and FedNail. So social credit score, which we know has been in the background building. They already showed you they're manipulating the population into the cancel culture, right? They canceled Kanye. They canceled whoever. Of course, they got some reasons that appear to be more valid than others. But then again, why? If you knew they were doing it all this time and you're supporting them, it's kind of fucked up that you turn your back on them as soon as they catch heat, kind of regardless of what the matter is. You knew about it the whole time you was fucking with them, but then once money gets involved, now all of a sudden you want to say it's a problem. That's kind of fucked up. Wait, that's U.S. citizen mentality. You know what I mean? They not loyal to shit. They don't know nothing but money and addiction to currency. But so we got social credit score, we got Fed now, and fiat currency. So they're doing all this over fake paper. So if your whole goals in life revolves around something that's fake, it means that like attracts like, right? So fake shit stimulates fake people. I don't know how else to put it. So social credit score, Fed now, secret police in North Carolina based on the jurisdiction of public funds, state funds. Be careful. Don't speak on it like you're not getting food stamps to think you better, because if you filing taxes for entertainment purposes and you're claiming anything more than a zero, you're getting state funds, public funds, etc., 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 right? North Carolina just dropped from 13th to 33rd on the freedom list, and now we have this in the background of it all going on simultaneously. So now let's get into the article. Thank you for allowing me to give you some artwork here. I'm trying to work in a little bit better experience for you on Y97. We growing. All right, let's get to it here. I got some more eye candy for you, and we'll get this through. But let's get this popping real quick. Now to the article here. Okay, so we already went over the title. Boom, 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 boom. Update the FISA. The FISA Reform and Reauthorization Act of 2023 and a competing bill were both pulled by the House after backlash in a dramatic showdown, right? So the U.S. House of Intelligence Committee has proposed a reform bill that privacy experts are warning would significantly expand the government's mass surveillance apparatus, all right? So the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which is what FISA stands for, if I say FISA right, if not, then say it to yourself. But anyway, FISA Reform and Reauthorization Act would be the biggest expansion of surveillance in the United States since the Patriot Act. Damn, every 20 years, right? So anyway, which was implemented in the wake of 9/11 attack to combat terrorism, said her. The co-director of the Liberty and National Security Program at the Brennan Center for Justice. So there will be eyes everywhere. Now remember what we were talking about. Oh, here comes social credit score system. Oh, look what they're doing in China. Cameras everywhere, right? Okay, so granted, this is just on information, but look, there will be eyes everywhere. Go team, Geotin, whatever, told Motherboard in a phone call. I wonder who Motherboard is. All right, so an entity that you can visit as a customer, catch this, that provides Wi-Fi service could be required to let the government tap into its equipment and pull out entire streams of communication. Any entity that you visit as a customer, we didn't even get to your workplace yet, but as a customer that provides Wi-Fi service could be required to let the government tap into its equipment and pull out entire streams of communication. Now, I think that's something you need to be conscious of, because it's not just to say provide Wi-Fi to you, right? If they provide Wi-Fi service for the employees to work or for the machines inside to work, this is also on the board. So the Brennan Center for Justice and the Electronic Privacy Information Center, EPIC, issued a joint statement on Sunday deeming the bill would be a wolf in sheep's clothing that would target businesses far outside the tech sector that do not even have access to communications like libraries. The reform bill is scheduled for the floor on vote Tuesday at 4 p.m. All right. So the bill reauthorizes FISA Section 702. Section 702 lets the government compel U.S. communications companies to assist in surveilling supposedly non-U.S. individuals who are outside of the country. Now, non-U.S. individuals, United States citizens aren't going to feel threatened by that. Anybody that feels like they're American, that we are non-domestic. Okay? We are non-domestic. So, to account for that, for the fact that many terrorists and other foreign adversaries were using email accounts serviced by U.S. companies. However, there's a history of documented abuses of Section 702 by U.S. agencies to spy on its own citizens who are communicating with someone abroad. Section 702 was designated to allow the government to warrantlessly surveil non-U.S. citizens abroad for foreign intelligence purposes, wrote India McKinney, the director of Federal Affairs at the Electronic Frontier Foundation, in an article last week. Increasingly, it's this U.S. side of digital conversations that domestic law enforcement agencies trawl through, all without a warrant. FBI agents have been using Section 702 databases to conduct millions of invasive searches for Americans. Now, see, for Americans' communications, you got to know these wordplays. Like, they've been talking about United States and U.S. citizens and non-U.S. citizens. Why didn't they put U.S. citizens here? See, FBI agents have been using Section 702 databases to conduct millions of invasive searches for Americans' communications, including those of protesters, racial justice activists, 19,000 donors to a congressional campaign, journalists, and even members of Congress. And you probably, if you're an American, if you're a United States brainwashed citizen, then you're probably okay. Experts point to one provision in the FISA Reform and Reauthorization Act as evidence that it could lead to a massive expansion of the U.S. domestic surveillance apparatus. It expands the definition of electronic communications service provider, the entities which the government can compel to assist in surveillance, such as email service, to include any equipment that is being or may be used to transmit or store such communications. Both Epic and the Branner Center are warning that this could be as basic as an ordinary Wi-Fi router at your, I'm going to say Starbucks, but they said cafe or library. So you go into the Starbucks, they have free Wi-Fi, your phone connects, they got you. Any business that has access to equipment on which communications are stored and transmitted would be fair game. It didn't say that it had to be allowing you to connect to the Wi-Fi, right? So any business that has access to equipment on which communications are stored and transmitted would be fair game. The organization's joint statement reads, that means hotels, libraries. You stayed at a hotel last week, you done. They know. Welcome to the party. Libraries, coffee shops, and other businesses that provide Wi-Fi could be compelled to serve as surrogate spies, structuring their systems so that they can give the government access to the entire communication streams. Now, again, think about all of this stuff that would be inside of a hotel, security, a bank, anything like that operates electronically storing information. It's all potentially compromised. Remember, they just did the move, like I said, with the secret police, where now they have a reason to get the access to all of the documents and files, the paperwork. in certain establishments, like your lawyer's office. If the lawyer's office gets state funding for providing public defenders, well, now they're under the jurisdiction of the secret police, and any and every document in that building, your office, your lawyer office, now they can commandeer basically under the secret police jurisdiction. That's the jurisdiction is state funds, public funds, right? So now, how do you get the digital stuff? Oh, because you came for it all, right? You came for it all, didn't you? So now you gotta get the digital stuff. Okay. So conscripting U.S. business into intelligence agencies service was a feature of the 2007 Protect America Act. Did you know that? Congress explicitly and appropriately rejected this feature 1 year later when it passed Section 702. So it looked good to say, hey, we're going to reject this, but did they tell you what 702 was, or are you just finding out about it now, or are you just finding out about both of them now? I know some of you out there are like, oh, we don't have nothing to hide and we not doing nothing wrong and we're just a U.S. citizen. We understand. You're going to be the ones that are going to be calling us terrorists soon. You're the zombies of the op, right? You're the pawns. For the rest of us Americans that they've identified here in this article that they're coming after, Chris Baumul, a law fellow at Epic, said that numerous organizations had signed a letter to the Senate demanding that the provision not be authorized. It is truly baffling given the bipartisan consensus that real reforms are needed, that the House Intelligence Committee would release a bill that reads more like an intelligence agency wish list. Baumul, if I'm saying that right, told Motherboard, I gotta look into Motherboard, that's such a cool name. It is not a good look for your reform bill to do more to expand and entrench surveillance. But it is if you know what they're trying to do in the near future, you know, so social credit score, surveillance. You can't, you know, you're pumping too much gas. We're going to cut off. We got Fed now. We're going to stop all this. We're going to eventually have more cameras, face recognition everywhere. Kind of makes sense if you look in that direction. But let's just tell the people, hey, we don't know what they're trying to do here. This doesn't make sense, guys. Right? Goatine explained that despite the fact that Section 702 was designed to target non-U.S. individuals, Americans, and foreigners, because technically Americans are foreign, we're non-domestic to the United States. The new provision would mean an increase in surveillance on Americans too. See, because you don't know what the United States is, you don't know that it's been a silent war going on. It's a silent, quiet, slow invasion of America. You think Pasha, hold on, let me get big on the screen. You think Pasha's putting out a song called Trust No Citizen for fun? You think that was just like catchy? Or do you think there's something in there that you need to know? See, that's why they don't want Pasha to go super public. They rather you hear bullshit, right? Because they don't want 144,000 Pashas. But you can have 144,000 Commons. They would like that, right? All right, let's get back to this. So, because the government would be able to conduct so much more surveillance, there would also be more incidental collection of Americans' communications. So Goatine said, when the government is targeting foreigners overseas, it is inevitably sweeping in American communications as well, because Americans communicate with foreigners. once you put that surveillance on steroids, which is what this provision would do, the government would be pulling in orders of magnitude more of Americans' communications than it's doing right now. So Congress previously reauthorized the bill, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so if you want to, it's only a little bit left there. If you want to continue reading that, feel free to. I want to now take you to the next part of this. Give you a little bit here. Hold on. So what they're, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Don't mind me. I just discovered something for the first time on here. It's always cool. All right, so basically, what we got here is we have the situation where they're going to be turning your American business into surveillance agents, right? They already got the American people, the United States people looking out the window, trying to make you fit in. But basically, notable provisions expands the definitions of electronic communication service provider. So let's take a look at that real quick, because what we looked at earlier when we looked at the definitions was that communication technically means information. So if we go to this right here, and let's take a look at the text. All right. So here is 118th Congress S3351, right? I know. They got so much negative stuff to say because we trying to liberate and they trying to occupy your mind with bullshit. I know, but stay with me. So S3351 to amend the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act of 1978 to extend certain expiring authorities, to restore certain expired authorities, and to institute reforms to protect civil liberties of United States persons and for other purposes, right? United States persons. And who are they looking at? Foreigners. And who does that include? People outside of what you think your borders are, and Americans, because Americans are not United States persons. Go look at the video we did that put you on game on what person actually means. All right. So if you come down here and look at this bill, you can pull this up yourself, but they're too busy watching the game, right? And this is the contents of it all. So all this stuff is stuff that they're making changes to and omissions. And then right here, right here, 104, additional reporting on FBI's use of Section 702. So if we pull that up, actually I can just click on it here for you. I have it up in another window, but where is it here? Section 4. Okay, right here. So the change they're making here, right? Now get this. For those who know, why. This is why I started off the channel based on etymology, right? And breaking down words, letting people know that the words meant something different. Because when you read this, if you don't grasp what the words are saying, you might not know what they're saying. I guess it makes sense if it makes sense. But anyway, so what they're going to do is they're going to be striking the part where it says to certain information, right? Basically give them access to certain information, and then they had some more speech, blah, 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 blah. And they described that as electronic email and email addresses and telephone numbers. So to certain information, limited to certain information, which remember meant certain people's. So now they're just going to take out the certain information part and just put in, they're going to have access to electronic email addresses and telephone numbers. See, the certain information gave it a requirement. But when you remove the requirements for them to have access to it, you kind of make just all the electronic email addresses and telephone numbers fair game. And that part's how it's going to pertain to you directly, right? Now, I know what you're thinking. Hey, I don't really have nothing going on. I'm not hiding nothing, which nobody's really hiding stuff. People are just trying to live their life, you know what I mean? And if you feel like you're okay with that, then cool. But I'm going to show you here in a little bit why you really might want to think again, okay? Because what this is going to do is this is going to give them access to your information, your files, your everything in places where you weren't thinking that you may be infringed upon. Like everybody knows HEPA, and they feel like your health, information is supposed to be protected and blah, 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 and all this good stuff, right? Let's take a look. So if we go and get rid of this and pull this up for you and drop this on the screen here. All right. So here's an article, right? Just shows you about U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Now, this is not exactly related to it, but I wanted to show you here because it has the details mentioned that shows how you'll see. So what I want to focus on here is these are listed as just some of the healthcare providers, doctors, clinics, psychologists, dentists, chiropractors, nursing homes, even pharmacies. All right. Well, get this. It says, reason why I chose this to show you is because it says, but only if they transmit any information in electronic form. Now, health insurance companies, HMOs, company health plans, government programs are going to be the ones they're transferring information back and forth to. So they're going to get HEPA protection right out the window. See, who's protecting your family? The football game? All right. Let me go to the next section where I want to take you next. I want to take you to because all right, I got it. Hold on. Let me do this. Working the controls here. Pilot on deck. All right. So the interesting thing is, right, once they turn all the businesses against you and they turn all the U.S. citizens against you, you kind of don't have much left. But, they got this key thing here, because my question is, does this violate the Communications Act, or does this violate your freedom to communicate? I mean, you got the right to speech, but I guess they're going to be able to, they're looking to attack that, of course, with the social credit score. But then if you transmit that speech, which we'll go over here in a little bit, is that now a communication instead of speech? Is this how they're going to get over on us, the wordplay? the ambiguity factors. Let's look at the Federal Communication document for a moment here. All right. We're about halfway through what I want to present with you today. So here we are, right? FCC Communications. And the Communications Act, the FCC was created by Congress in the Communications Act for the purpose of regulating interstate and foreign commerce and communication by wire and radio, so as to make available so far as possible to all people of the United States without discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, or sex, a rapid, efficient, nationwide, and worldwide wire and radio communication service. Okay. So in this context, the word radio covers both broadcast radio and television. See, so right there, right? I think the attack there was the manipulation factor there, which we'll talk about, is that was wired. See, that was back when everything was wired. There was, I ain't gonna say was no wireless, but wireless definitely wasn't in possession of the Gen Pop back then. Okay. So let's get back to this. So the Communications Act authorizes the commission to make such regulations not inconsistent with the law as it may deem necessary to prevent interference between stations and to carry out the provisions of the act. It directs us to base our broadcast licensing decisions on whether those actions will serve the public interest, convenience, and necessity. So anytime I see the word licensing, I get a little curious. I get a little interested, because what we know is that we shouldn't actually need a license to live, right? Would you agree with that? Would you agree that we're not supposed to need a license to live? Do you have a license to breathe? Do you have a license to talk? Do you need a license to talk? So if you sing your talk across town, why should you need a license for it? It's kind of like controlling, right? So let's take a look at this real quick here. You see, which one is it? Yeah, it's this one. Because every time I see the word license, I start to really, really wonder what I'm looking at for entertainment purposes. Because for entertainment purposes, I'm familiar with. See, y'all may have read romance novels. You might be watching the African Hollywood films, or Bollywood or whatever, where they're over there talking about getting a maid, and then they slept with the maid, got the maid pregnant, and soap operas that your grandma was watching just redone on Tubi. You know what I'm saying? I get that may be where you spend your time. But what I find most entertaining is looking at stuff like this, like Shuttlesworth versus Birmingham, where it says, if a state does convert your right into a privilege and issues a license for and charge a fee for it, you can ignore the license and fee and engage in the right with impunity for entertainment purposes only. This is not legal advice. So I kind of every time I see the word licenses, I just wonder. I think I'm allergic, right? I think I'm allergic to the word license. So it kind of makes you wonder again if the right to travel itself is based. This is why I said earlier, is the right to travel itself based on the fact that you are moving, living, breathing data. Is your right to travel the equivalent of the old version of a Wi-Fi router? Like, think about it. You were here. You hopped in a car on the roadway, which is kind of like a wire, and the wire took you and your information, right, down the circuit, down in the circuit board that you call your city, to another location and deposited your information over your friend's house, and then y'all interacted together. I just kind of wonder. Let's get back to this though, because what I want to close with, because I know you're like, hey, that's not going to affect me, and da da da, and I don't use none of that, and blah 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 blah, and okay. So let's take a look at this here. This is from gettalkative.com. Oh, let me make sure. Let me get up on the screen for you. All right. This is from gettalkative.com. And the reason I picked this is because to share with you, let me make sure. Yeah, you're getting it. Okay. So what is communication, right? The 10 most essential digital communication channels for businesses, right? And we could read through this, or you could pause the video and read it. But it says the essential internal communications tools, best external, and etc. So what are communication channels? All right. So examples of communication channels would be written communication channels, which at least in North Carolina, we went over. They got that with the secret police now, right? Any document in there is fair game. So that includes staff memos. Now look at this. Now let's go back to that for a moment. What are those documents, right? It includes staff memos, staff contracts, quarterly reports, employee manuals, business publications. And this is not the infinity, I'm sure, but formal written documents, letters, faxes, customer contracts, direct mail advertisements, probably the list that they went to, customer brochures or catalogs, and definitely the list that they went to. All right. So what are the digital communication channels? Email, instant messaging, project management apps, video conferencing software, audio notes, intranet, internal social media sites. So email makes sense. Instant messaging, okay. Whatever app you're on, WhatsApp, Facebook, Messenger, Cash App, guess what? If it sends a message, it's on the list. Project management apps, you may or may not know what they are. They're going to be included. Video conferencing software, whether it's what I'm using right now, whether it's your Facebook Live, whether it's your big old live, bam, it's going down. Audio notes, okay, you record in your notes. You want to talk to Siri, you want to talk to Amazon on Alexa, you want to be on the Amazon sidewalk, right? You want to be connected with them, okay, they got you there. The intranet in general, internal social media sites. So you go to your company, they got that little their little internal, social media network right? It's an open book to them now. Okay, might come in handy if you gotta sue your job, right? Because now they should have a record of it without needing to be subpoenaed from the job, right? Digital examples of external communication methods. Now, here's where it starts to get interesting, because I know you're, oh no, I just got a business. I'm doing okay. Here go your email. Here go your websites. Pasha, why you don't got a website? It's kind of for your own protection, right? Blogs, social media, live chat, chat bots. You got a chat bot program? Okay, got you. Video chat, like we said, web calling, press releases, display advertising, mobile communication channels. What are they? Mobile calls, SMS text messages, instant messaging apps like WhatsApp, like I said, video calls. Oh, you thought you were safe? You gonna put the phone up to the ceiling and talk and do video and talk shit? Okay. The top 4 digital communication channels for teams is email, workplace instant messages apps. You're on your team, right? You're on Teams at the workplace. Project management tools, and of course, video conferencing. Top 6 digital communication channels for customers: websites, social media, SMS and WhatsApp, live chat, chat bots, video chat, and then the bonus entry of email. See, I know a lot of y'all thought something was wrong with Pasha. Okay? It's all right. It's not your fault. My parents didn't teach me this either. I just open-minded enough to know what makes sense. And so now that you saw how easy it is for them to turn the United States citizens against you if you have an American mentality, and you got the police called on you for not wearing a mask, well, this time around, they're going to turn everywhere you shop at into your enemy. They're going to force your local mom and pops into being your adversary. Now, why was Pasha speaking about building sustainable communities and y'all were laughing? For those that were laughing, because your community is now about to be your worst enemy. Because it's going to be forced to decide, does it wish to continue as a United States citizen operation, or does it want to fight for the right to be American? For the weak-minded, please excuse this interruption and feel free to return to your football games. For the strong, mentally strong, I hope you realize the sense of urgency that this creates. I'm Pasha Paro. This White at 7. Thank you for tuning.